Jake Morrison floated in the cargo bay of the Frontier's Edge, watching the damaged alien ship through the thick glass windows. The vessel looked nothing like any human design he had ever seen. Its hull curved like a living thing, with smooth lines that reminded him of a giant snake. Strange symbols glowed faintly along its sides, and parts of it seemed to pulse with a slow, steady rhythm. "Are you sure about this, Jake?" Captain Lisa Carter's voice crackled through his helmet radio. She stood on the bridge 3 decks above, but Jake could hear the worry in her voice. "We don't know anything about whoever built that ship." Jake checked his oxygen levels and adjusted his tools. As the ship's expert on alien life, this was his job. For 30 years, humans had been exploring space and finding empty worlds and dead ruins. This was their first chance to meet someone alive. "The ship is dying, Captain," Jake replied. "Whatever's inside won't last much longer. If we want to make contact, it has to be now." Commander Rick Palmer's voice cut in from the security station. "I've got Marines ready if things go wrong. Just say the word." Dr. Amy Walsh added her concerns from the medical bay. "Jake, we have no idea what diseases they might carry, or what our germs might do to them." Jake pushed off from the wall and floated toward the airlock. "That's why I'm wearing a full biosuit." "Don't worry, Amy, I'll be careful." The airlock cycled, and Jake stepped into the alien ship. The air inside felt thick and warm even through his suit. Everything was too big for humans. The doorways rose at least 10 feet high, and the corridors were wide enough for 4 people to walk side by side. Strange lights lined the walls, casting green and blue shadows everywhere. The floor felt soft under his boots, almost like walking on thick carpet. But when Jake looked down, he saw it was made of some kind of metal that bent slightly with each step. He followed the sound of weak breathing deeper into the ship. The noise led him to what looked like a control room. Screens covered the walls, most of them dark or showing symbols he couldn't read. In the center of the room, something large was slumped over a curved desk. Jake's heart jumped when he saw it. The creature was huge, at least 7 feet tall even sitting down. Its skin was covered in scales that changed color in the strange light, shifting from deep green to bright blue. It had 4 arms, each ending in long fingers with sharp claws. Its head was elongated like a lizard's, with large eyes that were currently closed. "Captain, I found the survivor," Jake whispered into his radio. It's definitely not human." The alien's eyes snapped open. They were golden and seemed to glow in the dim light. The creature saw Jake and immediately tried to stand but fell back into its chair. Jake could see dark fluid leaking from wounds on its side. "Easy there," Jake said, holding up his hands to show he wasn't armed. "I'm here to help." The alien made sounds that might have been words, but Jake couldn't understand them. Its voice was deep and seemed to come from its chest rather than its throat. But what scared Jake was the look in those golden eyes. It wasn't anger or confusion he saw there. It was pure terror. The alien kept making the same sounds over and over, getting louder each time. Its 4 arms moved frantically, pointing at Jake and then at the walls. Jake activated his translation device, hoping it could make sense of the alien language. After a few minutes, words began to appear on his screen. The translations were rough but clear enough to understand. The alien was saying Deathwalkers and they found us and the warnings were true. "I don't understand," Jake said, speaking slowly and clearly. "Who are Deathwalkers?" "I'm Jake, I'm human. I want to help you." The word human made the alien go completely still. Its golden eyes grew even wider, and Jake could see its chest rising and falling rapidly. The creature was having trouble breathing. Jake activated his emergency beacon. "Amy, I need you down here right now. The alien is badly hurt and going into shock." "On my way," Dr. Walsh replied. "Is it safe?" "I think so. It's more scared of me than I am of it." Jake tried to move closer to check the alien's wounds, but every step he took made the creature panic more. Finally, Jake sat down on the floor several feet away and just waited. Dr. Walsh arrived with 2 medical assistants and a floating stretcher. When she saw the alien, she stopped dead in her tracks. "My God, Jake, it's beautiful." But the alien's reaction to more humans was even worse than before. It tried to stand again, fell, and started making loud sounds that might have been screaming. The translation device was having trouble keeping up, but Jake could see fragments. "Too many, and call the fleet and prepare for extinction." "Amy, back away," Jake ordered. "All of you give it space." When the humans moved back, the alien calmed down slightly. Jake noticed something else strange. Every time the alien looked at their medical equipment, its breathing got faster. Their basic first aid kit seemed to terrify the creature almost as much as they did. Jake tried using simple mathematics to communicate, drawing numbers and symbols in the air with his finger. The alien understood and began responding with its own gestures. Slowly, very slowly, Jake managed to ask about the creature's injuries. The alien pointed to its wounds and then made gestures that Jake interpreted as healing, and time and slow. It seemed to be saying that its people healed differently than humans, and that their medicine might be dangerous. Dr. Walsh, listening through the radio, said she could work with that. She prepared a simple bandage and some basic pain medicine, nothing too strong or fast-acting. But as she approached with the medical supplies, the alien grabbed Jake's arm with surprising strength. Its claws dug slightly into his biosuit but didn't break through. The alien spoke directly to Jake, and this time the translation was clear. You don't know, do you? You don't know what you are. Jake stared into those golden eyes, seeing fear and something else, something that might have been pity. What do you mean? Jake asked. What are we? But the alien had used up its strength. Its eyes closed and it slumped back in its chair. Dr. Walsh quickly moved in to treat its wounds, working as gently as possible. As they prepared to move the alien to their medical bay, Jake couldn't stop thinking about those last words. The creature wasn't just afraid of humans. It knew something about them that they didn't know about themselves, something that apparently terrified an entire galaxy. 3 days had passed since they brought the alien aboard the Frontier's Edge. Dr. Walsh had set up a special medical room with softer lights and warmer air, trying to make their guest more comfortable. The alien, who called himself Zektar, was healing slowly but steadily. Jake spent most of his time in the medical bay, learning to communicate with Zektar. The reptilian being was patient with Jake's attempts at his language, correcting pronunciation and teaching him new words. But Zektar still flinched every time a human entered the room. He's afraid of our medicine, Dr. Walsh told Captain Carter during their morning briefing. I offered him basic pain medication and he acted like I was trying to poison him. When I showed him our healing equipment, he actually started shaking. Captain Carter frowned. Is our medicine dangerous to his species? That's the strange part, Amy replied. From what I can tell, our medicine would work fine on him. Maybe even better than on humans. His biology is different, but not that different. He's afraid of how fast our treatments work. Jake had noticed the same thing. When Amy healed a small cut on Jake's hand with quick healing gel, Zektar watched with what could only be described as horror. The wound closed in minutes and Zektar kept touching his own injuries as if checking that they were still there. Captain, Jake said, I think we need to try contacting his people. Zektar keeps asking about his ship and whether we've called anyone. I think he's worried about something bigger than just his own injuries. Captain Carter had already tried. She'd sent diplomatic messages on all frequencies, using the mathematical greetings that were supposed to be universal. The responses she got back were not what she expected. I've been getting automated warnings, she told the group. The messages aren't directed at us specifically, but they keep repeating the same things. Contain the humans and prevent expansion, and something about a Category Omega threat. Commander Palmer, who had been listening quietly, spoke up. Captain, I think we need to consider that this might be a trap. Maybe this alien was sent to spy on us. Jake shook his head. Rick, you didn't see how scared he was. That wasn't acting. Zektar is genuinely terrified of us, and I don't think he knows why. That afternoon, Jake sat with Zektar in the medical bay. The alien was strong enough to sit up now, and he'd been teaching Jake about his people, the Saurian hegemony. Zektar was a scientist like Jake, but he studied dead civilizations instead of living ones. Your job is to study extinct species? Jake asked, practicing his Saurian pronunciation. Zektar's head moved, and what Jake had learned was a nod. I study what happens when species grow too fast, when they change too much too quickly. He paused, choosing his words carefully. I was studying your expansion patterns. Jake felt a chill. You were studying humans? How long have your people known about us? Long time, Zektar said. 200 of your years, maybe more. We watch from far away. We prepare. Prepare for what? Zektar was quiet for a long moment. Then he activated a small device that projected holographic images in the air between them. The images showed star maps with different colored regions marked on them. This is Terran Quarantine Zone, Zektar said, pointing to a large red area. Your people live here. Most galaxy civilizations have agreement. No contact with humans. Jake stared at the map. The red zone was huge, covering dozens of star systems. But he could see that human ships had been exploring beyond those boundaries for years. We didn't know about any quarantine zone. We know, Zektar said sadly. Humans never ask permission. Humans just go. The hologram changed, showing records of various alien species. Jake recognized some of the names from human history books, but not as alien contacts. They were listed as lost civilizations or mysterious disappearances. The Velnari, Zektar said, pointing to one record. Peaceful traders. Made contact with Earth 300 years ago. Gone now. Gone where? Far edge of galaxy, hiding. Zektar switched to another record. The Milani, great builders, tried to share technology with humans 200 years ago. Also hiding now. Jake counted 12 different species on the list. All of them had apparently made contact with humans at some point. All of them had since vanished to the outer edges of the galaxy. Why? Jake asked. What happened to them? Zektar showed him more holographic records. These were harder to understand, showing technological development charts and population growth curves. But one pattern was clear. Every species that had contacted humans had experienced rapid changes afterward. You learn too fast, Zektar explained. Velnari take 1,000 years to develop new technology. Show humans same technology, humans improve it in 50 years. Make it better. Make it dangerous. Dr. Walsh, who had been listening from across the room, came closer. Dangerous how? Zektar looked at her medical equipment and shuddered slightly. Your healing methods. They work too well. Fix problems that should take months in days. Body's not meant to change so fast. Jake began to understand. You're saying we take alien technology and accidentally make it too powerful? Not just technology, Zektar said. Everything. Humans see problem, must fix immediately. Other species see same problem, live with it for generations. Study it carefully. Make small changes over long time. Captain Carter's voice came over the intercom. Jake, I need you on the bridge. We're getting some strange readings. When Jake arrived on the bridge, Carter showed him the sensor displays. We're detecting ships approaching. A lot of them. They're using technology I've never seen before. Commander Palmer was already at his weapons station. Captain, those ships are moving in attack formation. I recommend we go to battle stations. Wait, Jake said. Let me ask Zektar about this first. Jake rushed back to medical bay. Zektar, there are ships coming. Are they your people? Zektar's golden eyes went wide. He tried to stand, moving faster than Jake had seen him move since the rescue. How many ships? Our sensors show at least 20. Zektar made a sound that might have been a groan. Full rescue fleet. They think I am captured by humans. They come to save me. That's good, right? They can take you home. But Zektar was shaking his head frantically. No good. Rescue fleet has orders. If humans capture Saurian, they must assume humans learned our location. They will try to prevent human expansion. Jake felt cold understanding wash over him. You mean they're here to attack us? Not attack. Remove, Zektar said quietly. Fleet has weapons designed specifically for fighting humans. Weapons that exploit how fast you adapt. Jake ran back to the bridge. Captain, those ships aren't here to rescue their crew member. They're here to eliminate what they see as a threat. A threat? Captain Carter looked confused. We saved his life. That's not how they see it, Jake explained quickly. To them, any contact with humans is dangerous. They think we're going to use whatever we learn from Zektar to become more powerful. Commander Palmer powered up the ship's weapons. Then we better be ready to defend ourselves. But Jake remembered the holographic records, all those alien species that had fled to the galaxy's edge. He thought about Zektar's fear when he saw human medicine work so quickly. Rick, what if they're right? Jake asked quietly. What if we really are dangerous? On the main screen, the alien fleet grew larger as it approached. Soon, Jake would find out exactly why the galaxy feared humanity, and whether that fear was justified. The alien fleet stopped just outside weapons range and began broadcasting on multiple frequencies. Captain Carter received the transmissions in the command center, while Jake stayed with Zektar in the medical bay. The messages were clear. Release the Saurian prisoner and submit to containment procedures. They think we're holding you prisoner, Jake told Zektar. Can you contact them? Tell them we rescued you? Zektar was working with a small communication device he'd asked Dr. Walsh to retrieve from his ship. I try, he said, his fingers moving quickly over the strange controls. But Fleet Commander may not believe. Protocol says humans lie to gain advantage. Jake felt frustrated. We don't lie about this kind of thing. We really did save your life. I know, Zektar said gently. But my people have protocols based on galactic history. They have good reasons to be careful. Commander Palmer's voice came through the intercom, tense with urgency. Jake, the alien ships are powering weapons. We need that communication link now. Zektar spoke rapidly into his device using his own language. Jake could only understand a few words, but he heard his own name and the word for rescue. After several minutes, Zektar stopped and waited. The response came quickly, and Jake could tell from Zektar's expression that it wasn't good news. Fleet Commander agrees to talk, Zektar said, but only if I prove I'm not influenced by human mental conditioning. Mental conditioning? Jake asked. What does that mean? Another protocol, Zektar explained sadly. Galactic history shows humans sometimes change other species' thinking patterns. Make them more human-like. Dr. Walsh, who had been monitoring Zektar's vital signs, looked up from her instruments. That's ridiculous. We don't have any technology that can change how someone thinks. Zektar activated his holographic projector again. This time it showed detailed records from the Galactic Archive, a shared database that Jake learned was maintained by over 200 different civilizations. This is complete history of human contact, Zektar said. Every species that met humans, what happened after. The records were extensive and detailed. Jake saw star charts, population graphs, technology development timelines, and cultural analysis reports. Most disturbing were the psychological profiles of aliens who had worked closely with humans. Look at Velnari Trade Representative, Zektar said, highlighting one section. Before human contact, patient, careful, traditional approach to problems. After 6 months working with humans, impatient, risk-taking, constantly proposing new ideas. Jake studied the data. Maybe working with us just inspired him to think differently. That is what humans always say, Zektar replied. But look at pattern. Happens to every alien who spends time with humans. They start acting more human, taking bigger risks, moving faster, changing traditional ways. Dr. Walsh examined the psychological profiles with scientific interest. These changes could be explained by simple cultural exchange. When you're exposed to a different way of thinking, you naturally adapt some of those ideas. Yes, Zektar agreed. But for most species, cultural change takes many generations. With humans, it happens in months or years, too fast, dangerous for stable civilizations. The holographic display showed more troubling data. Alien species that had extended contact with humans showed dramatic increases in technological development, but also increased social instability, higher accident rates, and what the reports called aggressive expansion syndrome. The Milani built cities for 10,000 years using same methods, Zektar explained. Slow, careful, tested over long time. After contact with humans, they started building faster, bigger, more complex. 3 of their cities collapsed because they changed too quickly. Jake began to understand the galactic perspective. So when other species meet us, they start acting more like us. And that's dangerous for them. Not just dangerous for them, Zektar said quietly. Dangerous for everyone. Species that become human-like start expanding, exploring, changing things. Galaxy becomes unstable. Captain Carter's voice interrupted their conversation. Jake, we've got a problem. Earth Command has detected our situation and is sending ships to assist. They'll be here in 2 days. Jake felt his stomach drop. Zektar, what will happen when more humans arrive? Zektar's scales shifted to darker colors, which Jake had learned indicated distress. Fleet Commander will assume invasion force. We'll call for more ships. Other species will join fight to prevent human expansion. But we're not invading anyone, Jake protested. We're just exploring. Humans always say just exploring, Zektar replied. But human exploration means permanent change. Other species explore to learn. Humans explore to expand. Very different purposes. Dr. Walsh had been studying the medical data in the galactic records. Jake, look at this. According to these files, human medical techniques are considered weapons of mass destruction by galactic standards. Jake read over her shoulder. The reports classified human medical technology as biological acceleration weapons because of how quickly they could heal injuries and cure diseases. They think our medicine is a weapon? Jake asked. Think about it from their perspective, Amy said. We can heal injuries in hours that take their species weeks to recover from. We can cure diseases they consider permanent disabilities. To them, our medicine doesn't just heal, It transforms biology at an unnatural speed. Zektar nodded sadly. Same with all human technology. You make everything faster, stronger, more efficient. When other species try to use human improvements, they cannot control the changes. The communication device crackled, and Zektar listened to a message from his fleet. His expression grew more worried as he translated. Fleet commander says I show signs of human influence. My speech patterns changed. I use more direct communication, less formal protocols. To them, this proves humans are changing my thinking. Jake realized the terrible irony. The more Zektar learned about human ways, the more his own people would distrust him, and the more humans tried to prove they were peaceful, the more threatening they appeared to the galaxy. Zektar, Jake said carefully, what happened to all those species that fled to the galaxy's edge? Are they still there? Most are still there, Zektar confirmed, building new civilizations far from human space. Some tried to return to their old worlds, but... He paused, checking his translation device. They had changed too much, no longer fit with their original cultures. So contact with humans doesn't just scare other species, Jake said, understanding dawning. It permanently changes them. Yes, Zektar said. And that is why Galaxy fears humans most of all. Not because you conquer worlds, because you conquer minds. You make other species become like you whether they want to or not. The communication device buzzed again. This time, Zektar's response was longer and more urgent. When he finished, he looked at Jake with something that might have been sympathy. Fleet commander gives ultimatum. Either I return to fleet immediately to prove I'm not compromised, or they assume worst-case scenario. What's worst-case scenario? Jake asked, though he suspected he didn't want to know the answer. That humans have learned enough about Saurian technology and biology to become threat to our entire civilization. In that case, protocol requires them to eliminate the source of the threat. Jake understood. The alien fleet wasn't just here to rescue Zektar. They were here to prevent humanity from gaining any knowledge that might make them more dangerous to the galaxy. And by learning about galactic civilization from Zektar, Jake had already made that fear come true. The crew of the Frontier's Edge gathered in the main conference room, while Zektar rested in the medical bay. Everyone was struggling with what they had learned about humanity's reputation in the galaxy. So let me understand this correctly, Captain Carter said, reviewing the translated galactic records. According to every other intelligent species, humans are a threat to galactic stability because we change things too quickly. Dr. Walsh looked through the medical reports again. Their own data shows that human medical technology could cure diseases they've lived with for thousands of years. But instead of being grateful, they classify our medicine as dangerous weapons. Commander Palmer shook his head. I still don't understand why helping people heal faster is considered threatening. Jake had been thinking about this question for hours. Rick, imagine if aliens arrived on Earth with medicine that could make humans live for 1,000 years. How do you think our society would react? That would be amazing, Palmer replied. We'd want to learn everything about it. Exactly, Jake said. And that's the difference. When we encounter something new and beneficial, we want to use it immediately. But what if our entire civilization was built around the fact that people only live 70 years? What if our religions, our governments, our families were all designed for short lifespans? Dr. Walsh began to understand. Extending human life to 1,000 years would completely destroy our current way of life. Everything would have to change. And that's what happens when other species meet us, Jake continued. We solve their problems so quickly that their entire civilizations have to change to adapt. Captain Carter stood up and walked to the window overlooking space. The alien fleet was still visible in the distance, waiting. The question is, what do we do about it? Earth Command is sending ships to support us. Zektar's people think we're a threat. This could start the first interstellar war. Maybe we should just let Zektar go back to his fleet, Palmer suggested. Show them we're not trying to hold him prisoner. Jake knew it wasn't that simple. Rick, Zektar has been learning about our technology and culture for days. To his people, he's already been compromised. Even if we send him back, they'll assume he's been influenced by human thinking patterns. Dr. Walsh had a different concern. What worries me is that they might be right. Jake, you've been spending time with Zektar every day. Have you noticed any changes in how he behaves? Jake thought about it carefully. When Zektar first arrived, he moved slowly and spoke in formal, ceremonial language. Now he was more direct in his communication, more willing to share information, more curious about human methods. He has changed, Jake admitted. He asks more questions now. He seems more eager to understand things. That's exactly what the galactic records predict, Captain Carter said grimly. Extended contact with humans makes other species more human-like. More curious, more impatient, more willing to take risks? Palmer frowned. But those sound like good changes to me. That's because you're human, Jake replied. To us, curiosity and risk-taking are positive traits. But what if you came from a culture that valued stability and tradition above everything else? What if your entire species survived for millions of years by being careful and cautious? The intercom crackled and Zektar's voice came through from the medical bay. Jake, can you come here? I want to show you something important. When Jake arrived, he found Zektar working with several holographic displays at once. The alien was moving faster than Jake had ever seen him move, his forearms coordinating different tasks simultaneously. Zektar, are you feeling all right? Jake asked. Feel very good, Zektar replied, his speech patterns noticeably more direct than usual. I've been thinking about problem. Maybe have solution. Jake noticed that Zektar had said been thinking instead of his usual formal phrasing. The alien was definitely becoming more human-like in his communication style. What kind of solution? Zektar activated a new holographic display showing detailed star charts. Been studying human expansion patterns and galactic civilization distribution. Found interesting correlation. Zektar, Jake said gently. You're doing exactly what your people are afraid of. You're thinking and acting more like a human. Zektar paused, his golden eyes focusing on Jake. You are correct. I can feel changes in my thought patterns. More direct problem-solving approach, less concern for traditional protocols. He was quiet for a moment. But changes feel positive, like mind working more efficiently. That's what scares your people, Jake explained. They see humans as a kind of mental virus that changes how other species think. Perhaps, Zektar said. But consider this. What if problem is not that humans change other species? What if problem is that galaxy has become too rigid? Jake stared at his alien friend. This was definitely not the same cautious, traditional Zektar who had been terrified of human medicine just a few days ago. What do you mean? Zektar manipulated the holographic display, showing the development patterns of various galactic civilizations. Look at technological advancement rates for major species. Saurian hegemony. Same technology level for past 1,000 years. Milani. Same construction methods for 10,000 years. Most galaxy civilizations have not significantly advanced in extremely long periods. Maybe they've reached a good level of technology and don't need to advance further, Jake suggested. Or maybe they have become afraid of change, Zektar countered. Galactic records show that most species develop psychological limiters after experiencing technological disasters. They program themselves to avoid rapid advancement. Jake felt a chill of understanding. You're saying most alien species are deliberately limiting their own development? Yes. Galaxy learned that fast change leads to extinction. So most species evolved or programmed themselves to change very slowly, very safely. Zektar's scales shifted to brighter colors, indicating excitement. But humans never developed these limiters. You are only major species in galaxy that still seeks rapid advancement. And that makes us dangerous to species that have chosen stability. Exactly. But also makes you only species still growing, still improving, still reaching for greater achievements. Zektar turned off the holographic display and looked directly at Jake. Question is, which approach is better, safety or progress? Jake realized this was the core of the galactic fear of humanity. Every other intelligent species had chosen safety and stability over advancement and exploration. Humans were the only ones still taking risks, still pushing boundaries, still changing rapidly. Zektar, what happens now? Your fleet thinks you've been compromised by human influence. Earth Command is sending ships. This could turn into a war. War would prove galactic fears correct, Zektar said. Would confirm that contact with humans leads to conflict and destruction. Then what's the alternative? Zektar was quiet for a long time, his alien features unreadable. When he finally spoke, his voice was thoughtful and calm. Alternative is to prove that human influence can be positive, that rapid change does not always lead to destruction, that there is middle path between stagnation and chaos. How do we prove that? By showing galaxy that humans can learn to be more careful, and other species can learn to be more bold. By finding balance. Jake heard the sound of ships powering weapons in the distance. Time was running out and soon they would have to choose between fighting and surrendering. But maybe, with Zektar's help, there was a third option. An option that could change the galaxy's relationship with humanity forever. The bridge of the frontier's edge was tense with activity. Captain Carter watched the tactical display as Earth command ships appeared at the edge of the system. At the same time, more alien vessels joined Zektar's rescue fleet. What had started as a simple first contact scenario was about to become an interstellar incident. "Captain," Commander Palmer reported, "I'm reading weapon signatures from both fleets. The Earth ships are charging their main guns, and the alien fleet is powering up some kind of energy weapons I've never seen before." Jake stood beside Captain Carter, feeling the weight of responsibility. "Captain, we have to do something before this turns into a shooting war. What do you suggest, Jake?" "Both sides think the other is a threat. Let me talk to Zektar. He might have an idea." In the medical bay, Zektar was working frantically with multiple communication devices. His forearms moved independently, sending messages to his fleet while monitoring human communications and running calculations on his portable computer. "Zektar, you have to help us stop this," Jake said. "Both fleets are preparing for battle." "I know," Zektar replied without looking up from his work. Fleet commander sent final warning. "Either I return immediately for mental evaluation, or they assume I have been completely compromised by human influence. What about your idea for finding middle ground? Can't you convince them to try?" Zektar finally stopped working and looked at Jake. "Fleet commander is not wrong to be concerned. I have changed significantly since contact with humans. My thought patterns, my priorities, my entire approach to problem solving has shifted." Jake felt guilty. "I'm sorry. We didn't mean to change you." "Do not apologize," Zektar said firmly. "Changes feel positive to me. I am thinking more clearly, solving problems more efficiently, considering possibilities I never would have imagined before. But your people see that as proof that humans are dangerous." "Yes. And from their perspective, they are correct." Zektar activated a holographic display showing brain scan data. "These are my neural activity patterns from before and after contact with humans. Changes are significant and measurable." Jake studied the scans. Even without understanding alien neurology, he could see the differences. Zektar's brain activity had become faster and more complex. "But here is what my people do not understand," Zektar continued. "Changes are not forced or artificial. Human presence does not control minds. It simply provides example of different way of thinking. Other species choose to adapt because human methods work better for many problems." Dr. Walsh entered the medical bay with urgent news. "Jake, Captain Carter wants you on the bridge. The Earth fleet is demanding we turn over the alien for debriefing. They think Zektar has valuable intelligence about alien technology." Jake felt sick. That's exactly what his people are afraid of. "There's more," Amy continued. "The alien fleet sent a message saying they'll attack any human ship that tries to leave the system with their crew member." Zektar stood up quickly, moving with the enhanced speed and coordination he'd developed over the past few days. "Time for talking is ending. Soon there will be only fighting. Then we have to try your middle ground approach now," Jake said. "Even if it's risky." "Very risky," Zektar agreed. "If it fails, we'll make situation worse. But if it succeeds..." He paused, his scales shifting to a pattern Jake had learned indicated deep thought. "If it succeeds, could change galaxy forever." Zektar gathered his communication equipment and headed for the bridge. Jake followed, wondering what his alien friend had planned. On the bridge, Captain Carter was dealing with demands from both fleets. Earth Command wanted her to deliver Zektar for interrogation. The Saurian fleet wanted her to release him immediately for mental evaluation. "Captain," Zektar said, "request permission to broadcast message to both fleets on open channel." "That's not a good idea," Commander Palmer objected. "Anything you say will be heard by both sides." "That is the point," Zektar replied. "Both sides need to hear same message." Captain Carter considered the request. "What kind of message?" "Proposal for new type of contact protocol. Way for humans and galactic civilizations to interact safely." Jake realized what Zektar was planning. "You want to use yourself as an example. Show both sides that human influence doesn't have to be destructive." "Exactly. I will demonstrate that alien can work with humans and still remain essentially himself. Changed but not compromised." Captain Carter opened the communication channel. "All ships, this is Captain Carter of the human vessel Frontier's Edge. Our guest, Zektar of the Saurian hegemony, wishes to address both fleets." Zektar moved to the communication station. When he spoke, his voice was clear and confident in a way it had never been when Jake first met him. I am Zektar, xenoarchaeologist of the Saurian hegemony. I speak to both human and Saurian fleets with proposal that may prevent conflict and create new possibilities for galactic cooperation. The bridge was silent as Zektar continued. For 4 days, I have worked closely with humans. Galactic protocols predict that this contact should have compromised my mental independence and made me dangerous to my own civilization. Saurian Fleet Commander is correct that my thought patterns have changed significantly. Jake could imagine the reactions on both fleets. The humans would be confused about why changing thought patterns was considered dangerous. The Saurians would see this as confirmation of their worst fears. However, Zektar continued, I propose that these changes represent evolution rather than corruption. Working with humans has not made me less Saurian. It has made me a better Saurian. Zektar, what are you doing? Jake whispered. Showing them new possibility. Zektar replied quietly, then spoke into the communicator again. I propose establishment of joint research station in neutral space. Humans and galactic species would work together, but with strict protocols, limited contact time to prevent overwhelming cultural changes, gradual technology sharing to allow proper adaptation periods. Most importantly, voluntary participation only. The communication channel remained silent. Zektar waited patiently, then added one final statement. I volunteer to be first ambassador to this joint station. I will serve as proof that human-alien cooperation can be beneficial rather than destructive. If experiment fails, Saurian fleet may destroy station and all participants to prevent spread of dangerous ideas. Jake stared at his friend. Zektar, you're risking your life on this. All first contact situations involve risk, Zektar replied. Question is whether risk is worth potential benefits. The response came from the Saurian fleet first. The fleet commander's voice was cautious but interested. Zektar, you propose to remain permanently changed by human contact? I propose to demonstrate that change can be controlled and beneficial. That humans and galactic civilizations can learn from each other without destroying each other. The Earth Command response was more direct. This is Admiral Hayes of the Earth Defense Fleet. Are you suggesting that human expansion has been threatening other civilizations? Captain Carter answered before Zektar could respond. Admiral, we've learned that human contact methods have been unintentionally destabilizing to other galactic cultures. Zektar is proposing a way to make future contact safer for everyone. After several minutes of silence, the Saurian fleet commander spoke again. Proposal has merit but requires approval from Hegemony Council. Zektar, you understand that participating in this experiment may make permanent return to Saurian space impossible? I understand, Zektar replied. But if experiment succeeds, return may not be necessary. Galaxy may become place where all species can coexist and learn from each other. Admiral Hayes responded for the human fleet. Earth Command will consider this proposal, but we need more details about these alleged destabilizing effects. Jake realized that Zektar had accomplished something remarkable. Instead of a battle between two fleets, there was now a conversation about cooperation. It might not succeed, but at least both sides were talking instead of shooting. Captain, Zektar said to Carter, request permission to transmit complete galactic contact records to Earth Command. They need to understand full scope of situation before making decisions. Captain Carter nodded. Permission granted. As Zektar transmitted the data, Jake thought about what the alien had accomplished. By admitting that humans had changed him while demonstrating that he was still fundamentally himself, Zektar had shown both sides a new possibility. 6 months later, Jake stood in the observation deck of Harmony Station, the first joint human-alien research facility. Through the windows he could see ships from a dozen different species docked at the station. Scientists, diplomats, and explorers from across the galaxy worked together on projects that no single species could have accomplished alone. Zektar approached, moving with the confident stride he'd developed during his time with humans, but wearing traditional Saurian ceremonial robes that marked his status as an official ambassador. How are the adaptation protocols working? Jake asked. Better than expected, Zektar replied. Rotation system prevents overwhelming cultural changes while still allowing meaningful collaboration. Humans learn to be more patient and careful. Other species learn to be more bold and innovative. Jake watched a group of human engineers working with alien architects on a new space station design. The humans brought their rapid,